Hi, in this video I will give an overview of LabVIEW. LabVIEW is a graphical programming environment. So LabVIEW is a graphical programming language from NI or Emerson. You can get LabVIEW in different editions. You have a professional edition that you need to pay for, but you also have a free community version for personal and non-commercial, non-academic and non-industrial purposes. You can download and get more information regarding LabVIEW at their homepage. In this video I will go through the following. I will show you how you can download and install a LabVIEW from the web. After you have installed LabVIEW, you will get access to the NI license manager. Here you get an overview of all the packages that you have installed and the license information regarding these packages. And also NI package manager. This software gives an overview of all the LabVIEW packages that you have installed. Here you can also install new packages, update existing packages, etc. Then I will go through the LabVIEW programming environment. And in LabVIEW, the applications or the program are called virtual instruments. And when you create a LabVIEW application, it will have the file extension .vi for virtual instruments. In LabVIEW we have so-called front panel where you create the graphical user interface, and we have the block diagram where you create the graphical code. When we are in the front panel, we typically just drag and drop so-called controls from the control palette. And while we are in the block diagram, we can use the function palettes in order to add functionality to our LabVIEW program. Finally, I will provide some basic LabVIEW programming examples. So then let's see how we can download and install LabVIEW. Here in my web browser Google, I just type LabVIEW. And then you just can follow this link, LabVIEW download. And then here you select the operating system, Windows, typically the version. I'll just select the last newest version here, and then here you can choose which edition you want to download and install, either the professional version, the community version, or just a runtime. Also here you can select either 64-bit or 32-bit. I prefer 32-bit because some of the packages and toolkits that are part of LabVIEW still only exist for the 32-bit version of LabVIEW. And also some features within LabVIEW also are only supported by the 32-bit version of LabVIEW. So then basically just click here, download, and then you are ready to start install the LabVIEW software. So after you have installed LabVIEW, you just find it here in the Windows search menu. So then just search for LabVIEW, and then you will find your LabVIEW programming environment here. So this is my LabVIEW version, LabVIEW 2023 Q3. So I just click on it in order to open that application. So this is the startup window for LabVIEW, but before I start using LabVIEW, I will just show you the license manager. So I go to the start menu, type license, and then I find the NI license manager. You use this software in order to get an overview of all the licenses you have for your NI or LabVIEW software and the different packages. And if you have installed the LabVIEW Professional Edition, you need to enter a license key, which you can do here in the license manager. So basically you get an overview of all the software you have installed and the license information. So that's the NI license manager. Let's go to the NI package manager. So then we do the same, go to the start menu, type NI, and then I get this NI package manager. Click yes here. And here in the NI package manager you get an overview of all the packages you have installed regarding LabVIEW and different toolkits, etc. Here you find updates, so you can update the different packages. If you need to install a new package, you just go to Browse Products. Assuming I want to install the LabVIEW OPC UA toolkit, then I just type LabVIEW OPC UA, click enter, and then you see here I have different packages regarding OPC, so then I can just click on this LabVIEW OPC UA toolkit, and then I can install it, remove it, or update it, etc. So that's the NI package manager, which you use in order to see what kind of packages you have installed, if there are any updates, or if you want to install new packages. You find it all here in the NI package manager. So let's go back to the main LabVIEW programming environment, which you have here. So then you have different options. You can click create new project, or you can open an existing one, or typically you just want to create a new so-called VI. VI was short for virtual instrument. So then you just click file, new VI, and then you see you will get access to two different windows. This gray one is called the front panel. Here you are going to create your graphical user interface, and then this white window is the block diagram where you create your graphical code. And then on the front panel here, the gray window, then you can just right click, and then you will have this controls palette where you find lots of controls that you can use in order to create your graphical user interface. And you have also different styles. Here you have something called Fuse Design System. Here you have something called the Silver System, etc. But let's just use this Fuse Design System. Then here you have a numeric control, so you just select it and put it on the front panel like this. Or I can select a boolean. Here we have a button. Here we have a boolean indicator. And we have lots of other different controls that we can use to create our graphical user interface. We have also what we call a numeric control and numeric indicator. So this one is a numeric control. Here we can use this one to enter a number. This numeric indicator is just to show values. So this one can be edited by the user of the application. This is only for viewing information. So you have controls and indicators. And also, if you go to the block diagram, you see we have for each control we have created here, we have an object here. So this is the numeric control, this is the numeric indicator, this is the boolean indicator, and this is the boolean button, which you have here. So every time we create a new control here, and also a corresponding object is created here on the block diagram. So then let's start by creating a very simple, our first LabVIEW program, where we just have two numeric controls, and then we just want to add those two numbers together. So then I just start from scratch. I just delete all those, and now you see when those are deleted, also the block diagram objects has been deleted. So let's create two numeric controls like this, and one numeric indicator like this. We can also drag here in the window corner to make the window smaller. We can also select multiple controls and then adjust them like this. And now, assuming you want to enter number here, let's say 3 and 4, and then we just want to add those two numbers and present the result here in this numeric indicator. Then you go to the block diagram, which you find here, and then we right click to find the functions we have here. And here we have lots of functions. Here on the structures we have for loop, while loop, case structure, etc. that we can use in our program. We have different functions for manipulating arrays. And also here we have functions for manipulating a numeric. Here we have functions for manipulating Boolean data types. Here we have functions for manipulating strings. But let's start with the numeric. Here we find this add function. So just select this one, put it on the block diagram, and then you can wire those objects together. So this is numeric, this is the numeric 1, and this is numeric 2. So I just want to add those two together. Then I just wire from this numeric to this plus sign. I can also move the objects either with my mouse or my key arrows, like this. So then those two are connected to this plus sign. I can also right click here on the plus sign, select visible items to select a label, so we know that this is an add function. Then the output of this add function will then be wired to this numeric indicator like this. So basically this is our first LabVIEW program. I can just drag in a corner to make it a bit smaller like this. So then we have the block diagram and the front panel here side by side. Then I can click on this small white run arrow in order to start the program. So then just click here, run, and then you see 3 plus 4 becomes 7. And this is the code that makes this happen. So then this add, make sure that you add 3 with 4 and then put the results into this numeric 3 here. So then 3 plus 4 is 7. Then instead of instead of want to add those two together, I want to multiply them. Then I just right click here on the functions, select numeric, then select the multiply block or function. Then I can start by clicking Control B. Then I just remove all these so-called broken wires. So just by clicking Control B, all these are removed, and I can start connecting this numeric 1 to the new multiplication function. So I just right click here, select visible items and label. So this is a multiplication function. And the second input to this function goes to this numeric 2. And then the output of this block goes to numeric 3, like this. So now I can run my application once more. So then you see 3 times 4 becomes 12, like this. I can also click Control H to get a small help window. So then when I click on the mouse on different objects, you will get information. So when I click on the numeric object here, then you get some information. You see what kind of data type it is, etc. When I click on the multiply block, you get information regarding this block or this function, and it has 2 input, x and y, and 1 output, which is the resulting value. And same if I was using this add block. When I click on it or how the mouse over the block, you find information regarding this block or this function, like this. I just remove it. So basically this is how we create a basic LabVIEW application. The next step is to save your application. So then you just go to File, Save. Then you need to find a location on your hard drive. Just save it here in a temporary folder. And then you need to save it. I call it just my first LabVIEW program or something. And then you see the file extension is .vi for virtual instrument. Then I just click OK. And then if I just close it, I go to my file explorer. So here I am in my file explorer in this location, in my temporary folder on the C drive. In the LabVIEW folder, I have now saved my first LabVIEW program, .vi. And when I open this, so you see it's one single file, and when I double click on it, the application will open, and then the front panel will be opened, and then I can go to View, sorry, I go to Windows, and then I can click Show Block Diagram, and then you also see the block diagram. And here you have the help window. So basically, the front panel and the block diagram, if the block diagram is closed, so you can close the block diagram by clicking on this X. In order to get back to the block diagram, you just select Window, Show Block Diagram, or you can use the shortcut Ctrl E. And if the front panel is hidden, you can also click Ctrl E to show the front panel, or using Window, Show Block Diagram, Window, Show Front Panel, like this. You also have zoom functionality, so you can hold the Control key on your keyboard down while you scroll your mouse, then you can zoom in and out on your block diagram like this. So now we have created a very simple program that just multiplies two numbers. Let's say 2 multiplied with 3, and then we need to click on this run button in order to execute our program, and the result will be presented here in this numeric indicator, and this is the program that makes this happen. So assume you want to improve this program by using a while loop, then you can change information here during runtime. We don't need to click on this run button every time we want to execute our program. So then let's go to our block diagram here. I'll make it a little bit bigger. And then we want to create and use a while loop. So then I just right click here on the block diagram to find these function palettes. Here under structures we have different loops. We have for loop, while loop, those are the two most. We also have a case structure. This is similar to an if-else sentence in ordinary text-based programming languages. But let's use the while loop. Then I just select it, and then I drag it over my existing code like this. So now all this code is inside my while loop. You can also right click here on the while loop, select visible items to click and show the while loop. So now, in addition, I need typically to have a button here on my front panel. So then I just right click here on the front panel, select Boolean, then I can select the stop button. I put it here. So then here I have the stop button, which you find the object for here on the block diagram. So then typically you need to wire this stop button to this small icon at the lower right corner of the while loop. So if I click Ctrl H in order to find this information regarding the while loop, then this small icon here in the corner is a loop condition. So then this means when this Boolean button is true, so when I click on the button during execution of the program, then this output of the button will be true. And then, as you see here, if I right click on this small icon, the while loop will then stop if this becomes true. So let's see what's happening now when I run this program. Now I will just click, I can just start by saving it. Now I will click on this run button, and then you see the program is now running inside the while loop. I can also turn on this small highlight execution, so I just click on it, and then you see the code go now here in a loop inside this while loop. So now I can change these values. So every time I change this value will be updated. So 3 times 3 will be 9, 4 times 3 will be 12, 5 times 3 will be 15, 5 times 4 will be 20, 5 times 5 will be 25, etc. So this happens for in an eternal loop, in a while loop, until I click on this stop button, and then you see here this the output of this stop button here on the block diagram will become true, and then in this loop condition says that the while loop should stop when this becomes true. So now you see our program has been stopped, and now I need to run it once more time, clicking on the run button, and now I can change these values, and this numeric indicator will be updated based on these changes until I click on this stop button, and our program stops like this. So basically this is a very simple LabVIEW program where I just multiply two numbers and present the value here in the numeric indicator, and then I'm using a while loop and a stop button in order to stop the while loop when I click on the stop button like this. Typically you also want to include some kind of a delay here in the program in order to not take all the CPU inside this while loop. So then I just right click here in the block diagram, select timing, and then I just use this wait block. I just select it, put it here inside the while loop, and as you see here in the help window, which you get from by clicking Ctrl H like this, then the input to this one is milliseconds to wait. So then I just right click here on the input. So I right click, create a constant like this. So then here I can enter number of milliseconds to wait in my while loop. So then assuming I just type 100 milliseconds, I can also show the visible item and the label like this. So now when I click on this run button now, the program will be executed in the same manner, but in each iteration in a while loop it will wait 100 milliseconds, and then the next iteration will go through, etc. So typically it's a good practice to have this wait function. This is to avoid that all the processing or the CPU is overloaded, but when you have this wait block, the CPU will wait for 100 seconds in each iteration, and then it has time to do other operations in your operating system. So then I can just click on the stop button in order to stop our program like this. So this is a very simple LabVIEW program with a while loop, two numeric controls, numeric indicator and a stop button, a while loop and a wait function. In LabVIEW you can also easily plot data, so let's see how we can do that. So then I just make my front panel a little bit bigger. We have the stop button, which I put here in the corner. I can here, since the stop button says stop, I don't need this label, so then I can just right click on it, select visible items and remove the label like this. So now I want to add a chart, and then I just right click here on the front panel, select a graph, and then select this waveform chart, click on it and just put it here on my front panel like this. And then when I double click on it, I also see the corresponding object. So basically now I can just wire the output of this multiply function to the plot or the chart as well. So now let's see what's happening now. When I click on the run button, you see it also plots the output. So then let's change some of the input. And also you see, in addition to showing the result here in this numeric indicator, it also shows the value here in the plot. So I can change either the numeric, this numeric, or this numeric. And then you see the results are also plotted here in the plot, in addition to be showing here in the numeric indicator. So this is how easily we can just plot data using the LabVIEW programming environment. The last thing I want to show you in this video is to create a so-called SubVI. A SubVI is the same as a function or a method in other text-based programming languages like C#, etc. So let's see how we can create a SubVI or a function or a method in this LabVIEW programming environment. So then let's just go to File, and then I select New VI, and here I will create my SubVI. So assuming I want to put this code into a SubVI, then I just copy some of this code and put it here in my SubVI. So then I just Control V. Here I don't want to have this chart. I just want to have or create a function or a SubVI that just multiply these two numbers. So then we have these two numbers here, and then we have the resulting value. So this SubVI will just multiply these two values and present the values, the resulting value here in this numeric indicator. So basically this is the SubVI. So I just make the window smaller to fit the code, and now I just save it, and then I need to name my SubVI. I can call it multiply two numbers or something, and then the file extension here is also VI. So then click OK. And if I now go to my file explorer, then you see two VIs has been created. This is the main program, my first LabVIEW program, and then here we have the SubVI, and then here you see all my applications. So here we have the main application, and here we have the SubVI we have created. So the next step now is to specify the correct input and output, and then you do it here on this icon here. So then you can just right click on this icon, and then you can select patterns, and then you have different patterns depending on how many inputs and outputs you have. Since we have here in this case we have two inputs and one output of this SubVI, then I can just right click here, patterns, and then select this pattern with two inputs and one output. And the next step now is to just use my mouse, click on the upper left corner here with my mouse, and then on this numeric control, and then you see these two are now connected together. So this will be an input to this SubVI, and do the same for the other. Click here and select this one, and now these two are connected. So now this SubVI will have two inputs, and we do the same for the output. I click here on the right side, and I click on this numeric indicator like this, and then you see all these three are now becoming orange, meaning we have two inputs. So when I click on it, and you see how they are linked together. And now I can just save it. And the next step now is to just use this SubVI in my main application. I can do that in different ways. The easiest way is to just drag this icon into the main application like this. Or alternatively, I can right click here, select, let me see, right click and then select a VI, and then I can browse to my SubVI, which I have here. So I created 2 of those SubVIs. I can just remove one of them. And then I can also right click, select visible items and label like this. So now I can remove this one from my code. I click Ctrl B in order to remove all the broken wires. Then I put my SubVI in here, and then I wire it like this. I just improve my block diagram by making the wires a little bit nicer like this. And then also it has an output. I can also click Ctrl H, and then you see the help window here. It has 2 inputs and 1 output. So then the output of this one is wired to this numeric tree and to the waveform chart like this. Basically now I can close this one and save my application and run it. And the application is working in the same manner, but now the code that are multiplying these 2 numbers and put out the result here is hidden inside this SubVI. I can stop the application by clicking the stop button. I can also open my SubVI by double click on it. And here we have the front panel. I'll click Ctrl E in order to get to the block diagram. And then, assuming I want to do some changes here, I can do the necessary changes and save it, and this SubVI will be updated. Assuming I want to have 2 numbers here, and assuming I want to have 2 more numbers like this, then I can put those 2 new objects into my block diagram like this. Just make it a little bit bigger. And then, assuming you want to do the same for these 2 new numbers, want to multiply them, then we can just either I can click the control button, control key on the keyboard, and hold the mouse in while I drag this down here, and then I will make a copy of this function, and then I can just wire this one together like this. And then I also need to make a new numeric indicator, which is here like this. So now you see the purpose with creating SubVIs. If you have the same code and want to reuse that same code multiple times in your application, then it's a good practice to make a SubVI, because now I can use the same SubVI both to multiply these 2 numbers and to multiply these 2 numbers. So let's just run my application now. And then let's see, I have 2 multiplied with 5 becomes 10, as you see here in the plot. And then I have these 2 numbers. 2 multiplied with 3 becomes 6, which you see here. So now I have created a basic LabVIEW program with lots of numeric controls, a chart, numeric indicator, a stop button, and a while loop. And I have also created a SubVI, which I have used 2 times inside my application. So basically this is the main features within the LabVIEW programming environment. So that's all. So good luck with your LabVIEW programming. Thank you and goodbye.